How much money could you really make as a high ticket closer? This is the question that absolutely everybody asks before they get into sales. And I get it, because when I was working in a restaurant making 15 bucks an hour with a baby on the way, that's literally all I could think about as well. But now that I've worked directly with Alex Shamozy at Gym Launch and became Iman Gadzhi's top closer, I think I know the answer. So today I am going to give you the complete breakdown, the real income ranges, what determines your earning potential, and exactly what it takes to hit each level. Because here's what you need to understand. The amount of money that people make with high ticket sales, it's never universal. There's a lot of nuances that go into each individual case. And that's why I'm going to do the best that I can to give you as much context as possible so we could get an actual accurate answer. So grab a notepad, because at the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's realistic for your situation, but also which path to aim for. Let's get to the good stuff. Now, let me start with setting some realistic expectations, because the internet has completely distorted what people think is possible. The truth is, high ticket sales, it has one of the highest income ceilings out of any profession, but there is a brutal learning curve. For example, I remember getting hired to Gym Launch back in 2020. I was 21 years old and I got hired as a BDR on the setting team, meaning I was a sales rep at the very bottom of the totem pole. When I got hired to Gym Launch, I was one out of 5 people that were brought onto the team, 2 setters and 3 closers. Anyways, Gym Launch had this software tool called Gong. Many sales teams use it. And what Gong allows you to do is watch the recordings of other closers on the team. Meaning, hey, if one of the closers takes 20 sales calls that week, myself as a setter, I had access to all of those recordings. So I'm sure you could imagine me as a young, hungry 21-year-old with a daughter trying to figure my life out. I was watching those recordings religiously. And there was one sales rep in specific that got hired at the very same time as me. His name was Isaac. Isaac was probably 1 year older than me. And I remember watching his recordings, his sales call recordings, and thinking to myself, God, this doesn't look that complicated. I feel like I could jump on a close call tomorrow and do just as well as Isaac did. Even to the point, I remember telling a buddy on my team, man, did we make a mistake? Like, maybe I should have just lied on my resume and said I had a lot more sales experience and got brought on as a closer just like Isaac. Anyways, long story short, about 30 days after that conversation, Isaac gets fired. He wasn't prepared for the pressure and he couldn't get past that learning curve. And when you're on a high level sales team, typically they give you, maybe 30 or 60 days to show that you could perform and show that you're worth staying on the team before they fire you. Now, to continue the story, myself on the other hand, I took what many would see as the long route. And hey, for context, it literally took me 5 months after joining Gym Launch's team to earn my first $20,000 in commission check. So it really wasn't the long route. It was actually the shortest path to reach my goals. But all that to say, I started as a setter. I started to understand the process and learn how to sell. About 4 months later, they promote me to a closer and I start crushing it out the gate. And that wasn't because, quite frankly, I was some God-gifted sales rep, right? It's because I understood that I needed to learn with sales before I earned with sales. Through my experience of closing nearly $10 million with high ticket sales, which is insane to say, I have identified 3 factors that will determine how much money you could actually make. Factor number 1 is the vehicle that you're in. Think of it this way. I would challenge you after watching this video, search on Google, what is the average US-based salesperson salary? I could almost guarantee you that it's going to be somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 per year. Yet you'll hear me talk or see testimonials on my YouTube of different sales reps, or maybe just people on Instagram that are earning $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 per month in commission with sales. And it pegs a question. Hey, what the hell is the difference between, the average US-based salesperson on Google and these guys that are raking money with sales? And the answer is pretty simple. It matters just as much what you're selling as it does how you're selling it. This is one of the biggest factors that people completely ignore. You could make $3,000 a month door knocking and selling Cutco knives, which I did at one point in my life. Or you could be in a vehicle like Gym Launch and start making $20,000, $30,000 a month within 6 months. And the biggest proof that I experienced with this concept is when I switched from Gym Launch to going to Iman Gadzhi's team. You know, by the time that I left Gym Launch, Hormozi already sold the company. I felt like things were slowing down a bit for them. But when I went to Iman's, I made $7,000 month 1, $15,000 by month 2, and then on month 3, I literally made a $42,000 check. Same skill set, but different vehicle. Here's why this matters. I always say that a dog shit salesperson working at a 10 out of 10 offer will always make more money than a 10-year sales veteran working at Joe Smo's marketing agency. And I'm proof of that, but I'll let you know, I wasn't some God-gifted salesperson. At the start of sales, I've gotten pretty good as of now. But when I first started earning those really big months with sales, whether it was at Gym Launch or Iman's team, it was, 50, 60% about the offer. The marketing was good enough to where I didn't need to be a God-gifted salesperson. I could go in there, have a normal conversation, ask really good questions, pitch the product that they already wanted in the first place. And the next thing you know, at the end of a 45-minute call, they're handing me their credit card and they're buying the product. Now, factor number 2 is the price point of your offer. And this one's quite simple. The more expensive the product or offer that you're selling, the more commission that you're going to make. I have a salesperson in Learn Sales Group. His name is Jay, which, by the way, if you want me to help you start breaking past $10,000 to $20,000 months in commission with remote sales and get you placed on an offer, scroll below, look at the website and so forth. But we have someone in the group, his name is Jay. Before I met Jay, he was selling fitness memberships. Once he came in and started working with me, we got him placed onto a closing offer within 30 days. It was an Amazon FBA offer. I believe the price point was like $8,000 for the offer. And within a couple months, he was making like $7,000 to $9,000 in commission, which is okay. But I believe on month 3, we landed him a new offer. It was a tax advising offer. The ticket price ranged anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. And he was selling to business owners, so people who had money. The crazy part about this story is Jay's very first month on that offer, he brought home a $20,000 check. It has now been nearly 12 months since I first started working with Jay. And this past November, he took home $50,000 in commission. And hey, he's gotten pretty good at sales now, but when he first made that switch from the Amazon FBA offer to the tax advising offer where he made $20,000 month 1, nothing changed about his skill set except the product that he was selling. Again, same skill set, different offer. So if you have the choice, if you have the option, sell something that's more expensive. And if you can't find that high ticket offer, contact our team. Factor number 3, your position in the sales process. This one's quite simple. Much like the example that I gave you earlier, there's a totem pole when you join a sales team. Closers tend to be at the top, and then maybe you have a setting team or a lead qualifying team. Then you may have like a BDR salesperson who is usually somebody who's doing cold outbound. And obviously, the higher up the totem pole that you go, the more money that you make. If we start at the bottom of the totem pole, your typical setter, whether it's a BDR or a lead qualifier, they could be making anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 per month. I've seen them earn a lot more, but I want to give you true numbers. Those offers are kind of more unicorn where you can make 25K a month as a setter. So let's just say your typical setter is earning about 3 to 10, maybe a little bit more per month. And essentially what they're doing is they're screening leads, but they're not closing deals. They're setting the lead with the closer. Now, typical closers are earning anywhere from $10,000 a month to $30,000 plus. And these are the people that are handling the actual sales conversations and taking payment to close the deal. Now, finally, we have senior closers or sales managers, you may call them. And this is where you could really make a big jump in your income as long as you're good at managing and training salespeople. Your typical sales manager is earning anywhere from $25,000 up to $75,000 plus per month. Typically, you're getting around a $10,000 base salary, plus you get a split of the floor. All that means is, hey, you may not be closing deals anymore, but you're gonna be managing a team of 3 to 10, sometimes more closers, and you're getting a percentage of every single deal that they close. An example of that is when I started managing Devin Jatho's team. He has like a content creation offer for B2B businesses. I believe I had like a $7,000 base salary, but I had a really big big split of the floor. It varied from, I think, 7%, which this was like 2 years ago, right? So 7% of the floor all the way down to 2.5%. Meaning, hey, if I had 5 closers that collected $100,000 each that month, I would initially get a 7% of the total cash that they collected. So you could do the math on how that could add up pretty quickly. Now, the key insight to all of this is that even if you're starting as a setter or bottom of the totem pole salesperson, you want to get to closing as fast as possible because that's where the bigger money is. Now, yes, these are the 3 main factors that determine your earning potential, but there are also some traps that will keep you from progressing even if you check those first 3 boxes off. And one of the first ones that I see is comfort and complacency, aka being a fat, lazy closer. This often happens around the $10, the $12, $15,000 per month mark, where you're earning some decent money, so you stop pushing yourself to actually learn and grow. Meaning you don't allow your skill set to continue progressing. But here's what I've learned throughout the past 6 years that I've been in high ticket sales. You making $10,000 per month, that is all about your offer. Hey, if you're on a really good roll, you'll nearly make 10K a month just by showing up every single day to all of your sales calls. Now, the nuance with that is like, hey, you still need to be able to have a sales related conversation and be well spoken and push people to the close. But in Iman's case, I'll be real with you, me making $10,000 a month, that was basically just off people showing up saying, hey, Alex, I'm pretty ready to buy this. I'm really interested. I just wanted to jump on a call and ask a couple questions before I pulled the trigger. Now, on the flip side, you making $20, $30, $40, $50,000 per month on that same offer is all about improving your skill set on that very same role. Just like Jay, right? He started making 20K per month on that tax advising offer on month 1, but it took him an additional 6 or 7 months in improving his skill set to earn that $50,000 a month check. So the solution to getting to that next level is always finding ways to make small improvements. And there's a ton of ways you could do that, from, paying for different coaching or training programs that'll help you progress with sales, or even just watching people on YouTube that obviously know what they're talking about. The only key I'd give you with that is always implement one thing at a time. Don't break your sales process. Make small tweaks. That way, if it doesn't work, you could go back to baseline of what is working for you. Now, trap number 2 is the opportunity ceiling. This is when your income is limited by the offer you're selling, not by your skill set. And I see this constantly, elite closers who are stuck at 15K per month, maybe because they're selling a very, very low ticket product that's $1,000, or maybe they're at a company with very inconsistent lead flow. And so their calendars aren't packed, they're maybe taking 3 to 5 sales calls per day. And because of that, they cannot break past those small months. The solution to that is to be strategic about what it is that you're selling. When I look for an offer and when I'm applying to companies, I am qualifying them as much as they're qualifying me. I'm looking at the price point. I'm looking at the income ceiling. I'm looking at the pay structure, not always just the base salary. Trap number 3 is sales stagnation. That is essentially the salesperson who only shows up to their scheduled sales calls and puts no other work in outside of those calls. Everybody knows this, that when you're in sales, it's eat what you kill. And the trap that a lot of closers get stuck in is being the type of salesperson that takes their scheduled sales calls and that's it. There's a lot of other ways to generate more leads or generate more calls for yourself. That way you can make more money. I remember the 40K months that I was making with Iman. It wasn't only just based off the calls that were scheduled on my calendar. On average, I had about 20 or 30% of the leads on my calendar not show up every single day. And so during that free time, I would dial old leads, meaning I would go into the CRM, I would look at a lead list that's available and start dialing and setting those leads for myself. Side note, the best lead list for myself to generate more leads and more calls for me was always dialing the no-show or canceled call lead lists. Those conversations would usually be about 5 or 6 minutes because most people that no-show or cancel typically just forgot about their meeting or maybe they had something going on. So short conversation, short phone call. Next thing you know, they'd be like, yeah, man, I actually want to do the meeting. I just couldn't show up this last week. Could you set me for a call this Friday? But you have to be creative. The closers that are earning, 30, 40, 50K months, they're not just relying on the calls that show up on their calendar every day. They're being creative by doing strategic follow-up with old leads or doing what I did and setting additional calls on their calendar. With that crucial context out of the way, let me set some realistic income expectations based off your starting point. If you're brand new into sales, your year 1 goal should be making anywhere from about $5,000 to $12,000 per month. Granted, you could do a lot more if you know the right people and get the right help. But as long as you focus on learning the fundamentals and find the right vehicle, find the right opportunity, ending year one with earning over $10,000, right? So up to 12K per month is totally possible. Don't expect 20K months immediately. Build your foundation first. Now, if you have some sales experience, your year one goal should be earning anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a month. What you need to do is focus on transitioning your sales skills to high ticket sales and find the right premium opportunities. You need to understand that these larger companies that have higher paying opportunities, they are looking for people with sales experience to come into their business. And it's easier to accelerate faster if you understand the basics. Now, finally, if you are already in high ticket sales, over the next 12 months, you should be looking to double your income from your current level. Focus on optimizing yourself on your current role, but also, just looking for some bigger, better opportunities if they come across your plate. The biggest income gains, if you're already in sales, it comes from strategic growth. Things like not only improving your skill set, like getting better at objection handling or getting better at your discovery framework and asking questions, but also leveling up your mindset in your personal life. Sales is just leadership at the end of the day, right? I mean, you're on a call leading someone to make a decision that they already want to make, but how can you expect to lead other people if you can't lead yourself? It's not always just about working harder. You need to be on the right opportunity. You need to be improving your skill set. But number 3 is you need to be improving your mindset, your personal life, and staying true to your own personal growth. And the key insight to all of this is that your income as a salesperson in remote sales, it's not capped by time like traditional jobs, which means that your earning ceiling, it is essentially unlimited, but you need to be strategic. That way you could hit those big numbers. Now, before we wrap up, let me share some extra tips that I found to be the most effective to accelerate your results. Number 1 is to always be willing to evaluate new opportunities in your market. And hey, I understand that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but you should be always willing to have a conversation with another company because number 1, you never know what's out there. And number 2, you could build some really good relationships that you may need or be able to use in the future as a salesperson. An example of that, you guys may know, based off past videos, I closed for Thak Nguyen, the Asian real estate gentleman. He has a company or an offer called Springboard to Wealth. And to be honest, I had zero plans on going to his company, but his team was trying to poach me for months. I don't know how they found out who I was because I had zero content at that time, but they were reaching out to me over Instagram and text message for a couple months saying, hey, we would love to bring you on as a closer. Could you sit down with our team? At first, I was completely against it, but after the second or third message, I was like, you know what? It's not gonna hurt to have a conversation, so let me speak with the sales manager. On that first meeting, they started showing me screenshots and pay stubs of how much other closers are making, their leaderboard. And next thing you know, I was like, damn, this is a pretty good offer. And there's guys here making, $50,000 a month. I think I'm gonna make the switch over. But I would have never done that if I, was just complacent and comfortable in my current position and wasn't willing to have the conversation in the first place. Now, tip number 2 is that a 20% jump in your skill set, it can raise your income by 20%, right? But finding a better offer could literally double your income overnight. Think back to Jay, who was selling an Amazon FBA offer. He went to some tax advising offer that was much more high ticket with better quality leads, and he pretty much 2.5x'd his income overnight. Now, tip number 3 is to focus obsessively on your close rate and your average cash collected per close. Those are the metrics that you want to improve. Meaning, let's increase our close rate from 20 or 30% to 40 to 50%, but also stop giving so many payment plans. Stay in pocket in the close. That way you could collect more cash and get paid more commission with every single deal that you get across the line. These small improvements in your conversion rate, meaning your close rate, but also the average amount of cash that you make per close will make huge jumps over time. And if you don't understand what average cash collected per close means, here's a quick breakdown. If you close one deal that's worth $10,000, but you only collected $2,500 because you split it up in a 4-month payment plan, your average cash collected for that close is $2,500. If you get 10% of that, you only made $250. Now, if we could keep our mouths shut and not offer a payment plan and get them for the full PIF price, or understand how to get them across the line by offering financing, that $10,000 deal, you just collected $10,000 cash instead of $2,500. You get 10% of that, and you just made $1,000. That's a 4x increase in your commission with that deal in specific, just by understanding to not give a damn payment plan. In summary, here is what I want you to understand. High ticket sales, it could absolutely change your life financially, but only if you approach it strategically. The people making these big $30,000, $40,000 months are not just better than you at selling. They're better at choosing opportunities, understanding markets, and positioning themselves correctly. And the potential, it's real. I have seen dozens and dozens of my sales reps go from 0 experience to 6-figure years. But it does require, you treating this as a professional career, not just some get-rich-quick scheme. Focus on the fundamentals first, choose your opportunities wisely, and always be questioning, how could I get to the next level? Because once you understand how high-ticket sales really works, the income ceiling becomes whatever you're willing to work towards. Now, if you want to break into high-ticket sales and start earning those $10,000 to $20,000 per month marks, I got something for you. It's my sales training and placement agency where I just don't teach you how to close. I actually place you in those high ticket roles where you could reach those income levels completely guaranteed. You'll get access to the companies that are actively hiring closers, plus ongoing coaching. That way we could help you negotiate better terms, but more than anything, scale your income after you land the role. If you're ready to stop wondering about the income potential and actually start working towards it, check out the link in the description. Hit subscribe if you liked the video, and as always, once you learn to sell, you will never starve. Thanks.